Well, hello there. Sitting on a field of victory here with a little bit of Chardonnay. It is 7:56 p.m. on the 24th of March. It's a Tuesday, and it's 2026. And I have just completed how long was that? It was 32 or 33 miles. A pretty long day. I'm actually kind of curious what the Strava stats are. Or the Strava stats? I can't remember. I used to have a funnier way of saying it. Oh yeah. I really 32.01 miles with an average pace of 16-minute miles, 16 minutes and 11 seconds to be exact, and it was 8.5 hours of walking. Talk about a return to form. Yesterday was 19.6 miles. It doesn't even say my elevation gain for today. Come on, Strava, get yourself together. 2,600 feet of elevation gain. And yeah, I think today I spent, in total, I walked probably about 0.1 miles on the Appalachian Trail. And I found a nice little spot here, tucked into the woods, right next to a wilderness, forest trailhead sign kind of a thing. Man, gotta invent some stuff to keep your phone from falling off your leg. I think they have some of that stuff, that stuff that you put underneath rugs. It'd be nice. I should carry around a little square, or I guess a rectangle of it, so I can put in fact, I'm gonna put that on my list. I like that idea a lot now that I think about it. Let's see, rug holder for phone. Hopefully that is something that I remember. But yeah, quite a day. I really enjoyed it, and I have 5G service here. That's crazy. You just never know what you're gonna get. Life is more like a second tier cellular service carrier. You never really know what you're gonna get. But I do get 5G tonight, so that's great. That means I can do needfuls. And yeah, my dude, quite a day. I had a pretty strong start, and I really didn't know what was going to happen today. I had no specific plan other than knowing that I wanted to go to McDonald's and then basically figure out what I was going to do after that point from there. And so I didn't really care. I really enjoyed leaving this morning. It was a really fresh and just wholesome, getting up, getting out. And it was cold, it was just kind of fun. I don't know what it reminded me of, fall or something like that. It felt like an early fall morning or something. Chardonnay, black box, premium wines. Za premium, as they said in whatever that movie was with Bill Murray. Lost in translation. But yeah, so I made it to McDonald's. It was 9:30. I knew that I was totally fine time-wise because I was dude, it could be 10 miles away, and I'd probably still get there before 10:30. And I did, So I went through the charming little town of Hampton, which I have done before. And yeah, it was great to talk to a lot of the locals who were at the McDonald's. There was also another thru hiker who came through. Shout out to Pops. He had hurt his shoulder. Shout out to my dad. And I guess he had dislocated it, which was not the first time he'd said that had happened. And so he was actually wearing a sling. Shout out, Dad. And yeah, he got his name because he pops his shoulder back into place from time to time, I guess. But yeah, we talked for a little bit. He had his own needfuls going on that I could tell. And, people always ask because, I present as a thru hiker. However, I am certainly not. And I have to say, today, I really celebrated that fact. I was I used to say that I thought biking was like way better, like bike packing was better than hiking, and I still think that that basically broadly holds true. However, the thing about what I'm doing now is that this is actually the perfect Venn diagram overlap of the things that I like most about hiking and biking. And, I was thinking today, I was like, man, I could see myself doing a lot of road walking here in the next, several months. I was just like, why would I go back on the trail? Like, I certainly want to be close to it in case I do want to go. And it's not even, when I say like, why would I go on the trail? Like, inevitably I will want to go back on the trail at some point, because road walking will become tiresome. But it's just so nice to have both options. And as I was doing the logistics today at McDonald's, I didn't even realize, I was like, well, I had already done, I don't know, I guess maybe it was, I don't even know. I had done a handful of miles to get to McDonald's. And then I saw that it was like 24 miles. So I guess I did 6. I'd done 6 miles to get to McDonald's. And then I saw that it was 24 miles to get to this road crossing. And I was like, I've got 24 miles of energy in me. Like, I could definitely do that. And then I could just, sneak back onto the trail just like I just did. And really have no, nothing, no worse for wear from that whole experience. So that's what I did. I was kind of jazzed on my plan at a certain point, and as thru hikers often do, Pops asked me. He was like, "So, where'd you start today, and where are you going?" And I was like, "Well, I went to Kinkora Hostel last night, and I road walked there for the most part, and then I road walked down to here to McDonald's, and I was like, I'm actually going to road walk all the way to whatever the name of this gap is that I'm at now." And I was just talking to him, and I don't ever want to interrupt anyone else's pursuit of a pure Appalachian Trail experience, because I do think that there is value in that, although it's not value that I personally derive any meaning from at this point. But I do know what it feels like to want to have that experience, since I have had it. But again, also knowing that those feelings are relatively arbitrary when you, I should use my I statements. I feel that those are arbitrary because ultimately it comes down to, again, me making an informed decision based on the options that are available and what I'm optimizing for. And at this point, I'm just not optimizing for rugged suffering. I'm still suffering a lot. A 33-mile day, it has its own difficulties. I would say, much like cycling, one of the primary difficulties is that there's just a severe lack of shade. You really can't escape the sun. However, the awesome shirt that I have that has like a sun hoodie and thoughtfully crafted cuff length, or like cuffs of the shirt that go over my hands for sun shields, and then I can wear my leggings as I did for the bulk of the actual hot part of the day. It's unfortunate because in terms of thermoregulation, it's not optimal, because obviously you're trapping heat in with the clothes. But in terms of not getting sunburnt, there is a huge morale boost as soon as you cover up your naked flesh and no longer are exposing it to the sun, because that drains you a lot. I think it was probably biking on the Blue Ridge Parkway, which there is a YouTube playlist when I did that back in 2020. That was the thing that I did immediately after finishing the Appalachian Trail. Because, again, we can all start saying this stuff together as I become more and more of a broken record. But the worst day on trail for me was the last day, because I was like, dang, come on, let's all say it together. I was just getting good at this, and then now it's over. And so I got back to my real life, so to speak. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to stop. This stuff is really cool and really fun, and I've always liked the Blue Ridge Parkway. Up until that point, I'd always thought it was a really cool thing, and because I was hiking and had hiked parallel to it for a certain period of the Appalachian Trail, I was like, I would enjoy biking that. And the beginning is really close to my parents' house. I actually walked right by it when I was walking to Amicalola, because it's right outside of Cherokee. And Yeah, the hardest part of the day is like from like 11 until like 4. So you have like 5 hours of like, if the weather is of a certain type, you're basically going to be just exposed to the sun if you're walking on the road or biking on the road. And so, again, it has its own difficulties, but I will say, and I guess I'm trying to get all this chronologically put together correctly, but the road also provides, the road is not strictly, I guess I should say, the trail is not strictly, restricted to the woods. The road provides as well, and sometimes very handsomely. So, interestingly, today, as I left Hampton and decided that I would road walk to this point, I decided also that I would have better resupply items because I would be going through Elizabethton or Elizabethtown. I don't remember which one, and I don't care. It was one of those two, and so I went to a food city, and on my way, there was some, I want to call him bedraggled. It was like a older man who, I assume he had some issues that were probably due to a lot of drug usage or maybe just congenital things, because I could not understand a single word that he was saying. And he was like, his mannerisms were like not typical. So I didn't know what he was talking about, and he was really holding me up because he was like walking with me at a certain point. And he was talking about something. I heard him mention that there was like a check that didn't have his name on it, but he didn't have his ID, so he couldn't prove something. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sucks, man. I have no idea what you're saying. Didn't say that. I was just kind of absorbing it. And then at a certain point, I was like, well, it seems to me that the most graceful way for me to exit the situation is to make an offering. And so I fished out a $5 bill, another $5 bill that would have been earmarked for Kim Cora Hostel if I had stayed longer, and handed it to him. I was like, well, dude, I'm sorry for your troubles, so here, just go ahead and take this. And initially he refused it, and I've interacted with homeless people who like refuse money, and I'm just like, dude, you are a specimen, because this is like, if this isn't what you want, then I have no idea what brings you any kind of value, because this is how you get everything. And he was saying no, and I was like, no, man, just take it. It's easy come, easy go. And he took it finally, and then he disappeared into an Arby's shortly after. Basically, as soon as I pulled away from him, like I was putting down the mustard a little bit harder, because I was just like, dude, like, respectfully, I wish that I could do more for you, but you are a huge anchor in what I'm doing in a variety of ways that, aren't even worth articulating, but they are worth paying $5 to get away from. It's like paying $5 to not go to a roller coaster or something like that. A slow roller coaster. Anyway, and so right by the food city that I was going to for my resupply, I found $20 just lying on the ground, and I was like, dude, I just said easy come, easy go, and it doesn't usually get back to me that quickly, but I was well chuffed by that little, coincidental coming together of things. So now I've officially found $21 on this trip, which is almost $1 a day for the whole time I've been out here, if you amortize it. Whew. You ever get that feeling that you should have gotten more wine? I do, pretty regularly. That feeling of a regrettably half-empty vessel. And yes, I do mean half empty and not half full. I don't think a wine or a beer can ever be half full. It only has the capacity to be half empty because it stands for more than what it is. But it's getting pretty dark over here. I think I need to retreat to my tent so that I can have my headlamp. Although the moon looks like it's close to half. I don't know what you call that. A crying Gibson, is that what it's called? A wailing crescent. I don't even know. I'm trying to be clever, but running on fumes here, my dude. I mean, not really, but I'm excited to eat and rest my feet, both of them. Let's get in my tent. Oof. It'd be nice if there was like a little way to make like a chair inside of a tent, Like, I don't know how that would work, because, it would be you'd have to like really design something that was pretty robust in order to accommodate like someone's weight sitting inside of a tent. But I do find that just sitting on my sleeping pad leaves something to be desired. Not quite sure what it is, but it's certainly there, or rather not there. But yeah, I'm in my tent now, and I should let's make things a little cozier in here, shall we? Let's see. Oh, I need to get that. Man, I'm excited now about the idea to get that little piece of immovable, whatever that stuff is, for rugs. I think that's going to be a game changer. I'll just keep it in my fanny pack, and I'll be able to have my phone not slip all the time. Ooh, that's great. I'm going to get my headlamp out so we can really get this party started. All right. Put that up there in the little vertical pocket. Get it turned on. Nice. And let's get my feet out of these shoes, shall we? I wore my sandals all day. Like as soon as I didn't wear them initially when I left King Kura because it was a little chilly and I wasn't really sure about whatever I wasn't sure about. There was some moment of doubt, probably just that feeling of like transitioning from being inside to outside makes you a little weak. But after I left McDonald's, I put my sandals on and had them on all day. Man, they're perfect walking shoes. Like, this is like another hack that I just really can't disperse myself of. Just like, if you wear sandals and the weather, it's as long as it's not raining, like sandals are the perfect shoe. Like, it's just like your feet don't get super sweaty, so you don't get blisters forming as easily. And if you wear gaiters with them, as I do, the intrusion of like sand and debris is pretty minimal. So that's pretty sweet. And let me just get all this stuff situated a little bit better. A little bit of pedestrian needfuls, my dude. Get my socks all nice and cover up my shoes so that no spiders get in there. I don't know if it's ever happened. I can't remember, so it's obviously not been a crucial thing, but I always just put my socks over the holes of my shoes to dissuade any kind of creepy crawly from thinking that a smelly hole that's warm is a good place to stay for the night. But yeah, so found that $20, went into the food city. There were a lot of people very kindly like offering to take me up to this spot, but I was like, man, it's only like noon. Like if I don't do this, I don't have anything to do today, which is kind of the funny part about people who offer me rides. And I had a lot of ride offers today. And it's just, it is that feeling where it's just like, well, like what am I'm going to just like cut ahead to the end of the day and just like sit in the woods, like, you know, at 3 p.m. or whatever. It's like, dude, no, I'll just walk. Like that was the whole point of today anyway. You know what I'm saying? I think that you do. So yeah, the Food Lion or Food City or whatever it was, a bunch of kind people there. If you're listening to this, there was one guy there, and I guess I will single you out because we talked and I talked about the podcast. I don't know if I asked what his name was, but young kid who he and I assume his mother, I could be wrong, they do trail magic, and they are just about to start doing it for the season this coming Saturday, I think. And he was very, very intrigued with what I was doing. I'm sure his heart will be slightly broken to know just how far from the trail I have strayed, but yeah, they were very kind. They offered to, you know, get me any kind of food that I needed or like take me anywhere that I might need to go. And I was just like, no, man, like I really appreciate it. And I'll try to pay that forward somehow. But yeah, I'm all good. I got my plan. It's a good one and I'm sticking to it. Again, it's just like, you know, if you're out here respectfully, maybe I should use I statements. Yeah, I guess I should. If I'm out here and the whole point of being out here is to walk, whether it's in the woods or on the road, to me, it just doesn't make any sense if I ever take, like, unless there's an extenuating circumstance, like an unexpected injury, or I got sick while walking, or the weather suddenly turned extremely violent, like those are really the only three things that would like prompt me to actually stop doing what I was planning to do for the day, because otherwise it's just like, well, no, I just planned this whole day to do this thing. Like, it's like, you wouldn't go up to someone at like a department store or like a grocery store and be like, hey, do you want to go somewhere else? It's like, no, I'm here for a reason. And similarly, like walking on the road, it's like, no, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm actually choosing to do this voluntarily and happily. Honestly, it was a good day. It was stimulating. It was relatively easy. Again, like the exposure part that is difficult is I would take that difficulty over the difficulty of being on trail. I did notice, I think today, for me to do however many miles it was, 33, is that what I said? It would have been a 29-mile day on trail, and just for the sake of fun, let's see exactly how much elevation gain that would have required me to endure, because I'm sure it was considerably more. So let's see. Yeah, it would have been 6,600 feet of elevation gain if I had taken the trail to get to this exact same point. And it would have been 29 miles, so it would have technically been shorter, but I also went into Hampton and then Elizabethton. So I went north a lot before going back east to get to the trail. So it was not as direct of a line. And I did bypass going by Boots Off Hostel, which is slightly regrettable, but that's not really one that I have any kind of relationship with. I've always not really spent very much time at Boots Off. In 2019, I think we might have just gone in briefly. And then in 2022, I think I went there and all I did was buy a fuel canister and then pretty much left. I might have gotten some food. I don't remember. So Boots Off, I didn't go by, and that's fine. The next hostel I'm going to go to, this is kind of my plans for tomorrow, but when I was speaking with Bob Peoples last night, I was asking him, because I was like, being here is great. I love that I'm here and hanging out with you. And I was like, what would you say is an equally important hostel for me to stop at, like, next? King Cora is like an institution. It's like a fixture. What's the next one that's on the same level? And he said Woods Hole. And I do agree with that. I've stayed at Woods Hole before. It was actually the hostel that I basically had to stay at because I had gotten such a bad injury of my Achilles tendons from hiking with Crocs after my shoes started falling apart that I was actually physically nauseated by the pain. Like, I remember my group in 2019, Woods Hole is right outside of Parisburg, Virginia, and they all went in to stay at a hotel. I don't remember why they wanted to go to the hotel, because it was like another, 3 or 5 miles, and Woods Hole is a really, really cool hostel. I didn't know that, but I couldn't keep going, and it happened to coincide with, like, right when I was at my limit. It takes a lot for me to stop. Like I just said, it's like those 3 things, like terrible weather, terrible gastrointestinal distress, or a terrible injury. And the terrible injury, that was the most terriblest injury I ever had on the trail. It was so painful to go uphill and to engage my Achilles through that specific motion that I do vividly recall having to go uphill sideways, like kind of shuffling my feet so that I could not engage my Achilles to do that. And it was pitiful. And shortly thereafter, I discovered the miracle of ibuprofen because I took like 1 or 2, and then that pain completely went away. And I was like, okay, all right, I see you, ibuprofen. And yeah, anyway. So yeah, after City Food Lion, I pressed on and I went to 2 gas stations. One where there was this cool guy from India named D, and he and I talked very deeply, very quickly about like Hindu philosophy. I mentioned that where I'm from, Lilburn, Georgia, there is a large Hindu temple there from the BAPS branch, BAPS, of Hinduism, which is a relatively new denomination, and I think that they might be looked at as the same type of juvenility as like Mormonism is looked at by generally practicing Christians. It's like, because it's so new, it's just like people, if you're not part of it, then you think it's just like a cult or some kind of like less sincere or formalized version. But he was familiar with all that. He was from South India. He knew about Sadhguru, which was really cool. And yeah, we just talked about philosophy, which was funny. You know, that's the kind of stuff you don't get in the trail, or on the trail, I should say. You also don't find $20 on the trail very often. I'm just saying. I mean, hey, you know, I don't need to convince anybody because I'm already converted, you know. But yeah, I had several fantasies today, because typically at the Appalachian Trail Days Festival, they have like a talent show, and I was having this fantasy of going up there and just doing like an extemporaneous like stream of consciousness speech about pragmatism versus purism, or purity or something. I probably should figure out what the title would be. But yeah, like just telling my story in like a 5-minute thing, and then I don't know, I would work it out with AI. You know, I'd want to create like a general overview of what I was doing, almost like a set list, and then do it like that. But I'd have to be a little bit drunk to even consider doing that seriously. So it might just stay in the realm of fantasy. Mm. But if I do it, I'll definitely record it. But yeah, so talking with Dee was cool. And then the last real quote unquote resupply that I could do for the day, I guess I should say, when I was at the gas station with Dee, I got a Starbucks double shot energy thing or something like that. I had a Red Bull at Food City. And then the last opportunity that I had for any kind of food was I got a frozen Snicker ice cream bar, which actually was not very good. And then a Propel water. I thought that the frozen Snicker bar was actually just a Snicker bar that was in there and not like ice cream oriented. It wasn't very good. I think a frozen Snicker bar would have been good. I guess maybe I'm getting hungry. But in any case, yeah, so after this last place, I think it was called Fletcher's, where I got to interact with some of the locals again, and, you know, just make jokes about funny stuff that's dumb. And yeah, I think from there it was like, I don't know, 12 or 9 or 8 miles or something like that, and pretty much just pressed on the rest of the way. Pretty much a heads down affair. You know, at that point you're pretty locked in. It's like, well, you know, I was having some moments of weakness as soon as I entered Cherokee National Forest, where I am in now. I was like, you know, I've walked up like a lot of these roads before, and typically I, you know, I'm always kind of keeping an eye out for possible campsites, just because it's like an interesting background process to allow my brain to evaluate the landscape with, because I'm just like, well, if I needed to camp here, like, could I? That's just a generally good thing to practice as someone who stealth camps pretty often. And I found quite a few spots, and I was like, I could stay here. I could just stop right now. Like 27 miles is certainly enough. Like, I don't need to keep going and do another 1,400 feet of climbing and another 5 miles of distance. But I was just like, but it, you know, there's a special thing about being on the trail proper. And I am glad that I went the rest of the way, because it'll make tomorrow even better, you know. Mm. Ran into a trail maintainer who mentioned that, well, he was saying that he was going to give me a ride up if I wanted. I declined it politely. And he ended up coming back down the mountain at a certain point, going the opposite direction, back south. And he was like, you got 1.7 miles left. And I was like, I think I'll make it. And so, yeah, 1.7 mile push, got to this general area. It's very, very quiet, and it looks like maybe foggy. I can't really tell. Is that fog? I don't know. When I first got here, I was playing with the idea of possibly sleeping without my fly, but it does feel like it might be a bit chilly, a bit nipply, if I do say. And so I'm glad that I have my fly on. I'm going to sleep really well tonight for sure. And there's no rush for tomorrow. Yeah, I just knocked my phone out of my hand. It's been a long day. So yeah, I'll briefly go over my plans for tomorrow, and then I will try to do my list items. I feel like there's more than I wish there were, so I might have to pay them a little short shrift. But Tomorrow, earlier I had said if I was like within 50 miles of Damascus, I would do two 25-mile days, but I'm actually 17 miles away from Damascus right now. So I'm going to walk to Damascus tomorrow, and I'm going to do it on the road. I don't know. Well, let's just see out of fun. Let's see. If I were to take the trail, which, who wants to do that, and then go into Damascus, how many miles would it be and how much elevation? It would be 21 miles already. That sounds disqualifying. And 3,100 feet of elevation gain and 4,700 feet of descent. As opposed to, if I were to use my brain instead of my muscles and wanted to get to Damascus from here, what would that be? I'm going to see what the Broken Fiddle, because that's where I'll stay. The Broken Fiddle is only 17 miles away, and it's listed as mostly flat. That's what I'm talking about, my dude. You know what I'm saying? I love the Broken Fiddle, too. I've stayed there every single time, except for the first time. But I've stayed there multiple times, like probably 5 or 7 or something like that, on various different occasions, not just Appalachian Trail, but stayed there, I guess, initially in 2020 on the Transamerica bike route with Allie. Shout out to Allie. And then stayed there like for every single trail days that I've been to. That's also not exactly true, but yeah, I've stayed there a lot. Okay, that's my point. Let me turn this light on a little bit. So let me see if there's any freaking spiders crawling in here yet. Spiders do be liking to come inside my tent. And let's actually see, is it foggy out here, or is that just me? Am I just tripping? Yeah, I can have this light on. I don't even need to worry about it, because I'm going to the Broken Fiddle tomorrow, my dude, and I bet I'll be like one of the only people there if the pattern holds, And if I'm the only person in the hostel, typically when I go to the Broken Fiddle, I tent outside of it because I just don't want to be inside with a bunch of people. But I think that there's going to be hardly anyone there. And I'll just stay in the bunks, which will be a lot more comfortable. If I'm the only one there in the bunks, that's going to be amazing. But yeah, I would love to spend a day in Damascus. I really, really like Damascus as a town, as a trail town. And I always like to just revel in the nostalgia. Sorry, John Hodgman. And so I'll get there, mid-afternoon, late afternoon, whatever it ends up being tomorrow. And then I'll spend the day after that just like kind of touring the town. I already know tomorrow my whole thing will be, I've done this like multiple times, like I said, but I'll go to the grocery store in town before going to the hostel. And then I'll go to the hostel and I'll just have like the dinner, the stuff that I have for the night. I'll have my own beer, and then I'll have some stuff for breakfast. And so now it's time for me to start thinking about what I want to eat. Ooh, and the pound of pasta, I still want to do that, but I want to get rigatoni, and Parmesan cheese and butter, and then just like eat like half of the Parmesan cheese, probably Parmesan Romano. Anyway, so that's my plan for tomorrow. I'm really excited about it because I love Damascus, and it's going to be really interesting because I'll be able to do some interesting logistics too while I'm in Damascus, because there's a lot of options for getting out of Damascus, like using the Creeper Trail and stuff like that, which would be a nice little change of pace, because it would be basically like road walking, but a little bit more like being on trail than not. So in any case, I do have a few things on my list. Let's see. $5 into 20, the Crazy Man, easy come, easy go. This is something that I thought of at some point. There's some kind of deep interplay going on here, but I wrote down the tax of leaving and the profit of arriving. What was I even? Oh, that was about paying that dude $5. I was like, this is the tax of me leaving so that I can have the profit of arriving, which was like, I don't even know, $20 universal breadcrumb. So yeah, like, it's hard for me to look at an instance like finding a $20 bill when doing a road walk, when I am at this juxtaposition where basically, there are a lot of people who will probably poo-poo what I'm doing on trail, but it's hard for me to believe that that is a valid perspective when I feel like the universe itself is rewarding me with things like $20 bills, especially moments after I literally had said to a person who I gave $5 to, easy come, easy go. I was like, wow, I just like quadrupled the money that I gave away. How often does that happen? That's like what angel investors like hope for when they're like investing in like, venture capital, like whatever's, you know what I'm saying? Roasted. Keep on breadcrumbing me, universe. I'll go wherever you want me to go. Yeah, and I understand that that's like, I still am a story casting ape, I look for meaning where there is none. I look for patterns where there is truly only chaos. And yeah, I'm subject to all of the things that I critique. So, self-roast. Watching. Okay, we'll do this one real quick. So, one of the things I enjoyed doing, even though I was baking in the sun while I did it, I was looking because the trail, the mountain ridge that the trail was on was like to my right-hand side all day. And I very thoroughly enjoyed watching it undulate and knowing that I was not doing any of those climbs or any of those descents. I just looked at it and I was like, ugh. It was like looking at someone like, well, who had very unfortunate like dental protrude. It looked like a smile of broken teeth, jagged in some places, asymmetrical, lacking in others, present in others. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, the road is just smooth. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's nice. And, the trail is nice. I'm not saying like I don't like the trail, but I'm just looking at it and I don't know. What does it remind me of? It's like when I first did the trail, it was like my first relationship, when you have your first like real serious romantic relationship, like you have nothing to compare it to. And so being on trail the first time in 2019, I was just like, oh, this is like really, really hard. And this is just the way that you do this. Like you have to go through the hard stuff. And then eventually you get to enjoy the spoils of like getting to where you were going. And hopefully there's beer and pizza there. But then you get older and you get, I guess, more tired or something. And you're like, whatever, like the first relationship you had, like whatever the woes were, like for me personally, I was just like, oh, this is just how relationships work. Like there's supposed to be like a disconnect or some kind of dissatisfaction or, as my mom would say, with some of the relationships I've had, she would be like, it's not supposed to be this hard. Like when things are right, like it shouldn't be that hard. And the Appalachian Trail, like it is that hard. And it's that hard the entire time. It's uphill both ways. And, it's just like, it's so damn hard. And it's I don't even know. Like, I think it's worth doing once properly, in its entirety, and exclusively. But once you've had that experience, there's really no need to repeat it, in my opinion. But again, maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm still protesting too much. So let's move on. I love the trail. It's great. I think it made me a better person. But if I did it again, the returns would be diminished. Oh yeah, one of the things that guy D and I were talking about at the gas station when we were talking about Hinduism, he was saying that like I should go to India and walk around there, and I was just like, well, to me that seems like a cliche thing, and this is just my opinion as a white person from the United States. Like, my whole thought about stuff is just like, if you have to go somewhere in order to experience some kind of something important, then I feel like that is questionable, because like if anything is true at all, it should be true everywhere all the time in equal measure. And so the idea of needing to go to India for any kind of like spiritual like growth that I couldn't get right where I am, because, you know, that they say wherever you go, there you are. And so I really think that even if I was in India, I would probably be doing the exact same thing, but with a little bit more diarrhea. So I wrote this thing about that, which is like going to India for spirituality is like a dog only peeing on fire hydrants. It's cliche. Like white people go to India all the time. You know, what's her name? Elizabeth Gilbert comes to mind with Eat, Pray, Love. And yeah, I just think that like if you're seeking some kind of a thing, it's not about where you physically are. It's about where you intellectually and emotionally are. And you don't have to go anywhere specifically other than where might be most convenient in order to access those things. If you arbitrarily and artificially separate like spiritual understanding and intellectual peace, if you say that those things are only achievable in a certain venue, then you limit your ability to be adaptable when that venue is inevitably changed or otherwise taken away. In my opinion, okay? You know what I'm saying? Jeez, calm down. Wish I had more wine. They need to make these boxes bigger. I guess this last one that I have, I was feeling a little salty. My note says, never forget, I biked to San Francisco for AI, my own Hajj. And, you know, the Hajj is like the thing that Islamic people are supposed to do at least once in their life, go to Al-Aqsa, the rock, and do their little march around it, and whatever else they do while they're doing that. And yeah, I was thinking about it because I was listening to a podcast today. It was this guy named Eric Schmidt who appeared on the Moonshots podcast. I don't remember exactly. He was like I don't even know, some high position in executive level C-suite kind of thing at Google. And I was just thinking about my time in San Francisco because I was like, man, like that was like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing. Like I was like, you know, it's like a wherefore art thou situation. You know, I was basically like going to Juliet's like window and like asking her to let down her hair, you know, so I could crawl up. And when I got to San Francisco, I just found that you weren't even allowed to go anywhere near the buildings. And I was just like, dang, y'all, like, come on, like, I really want to be a part of this thing. There was like a part of me today that wished I was still in San Francisco. Not because I didn't want to be where I was, but I was like, maybe I should have like been more like, I don't know, what's that movie? Was it good? I guess it was Good Will Hunting. Like, I feel like, I don't remember how, is it Matt Damon? Yeah. Matt Damon somehow as like a janitor, like he makes inroads into the college where Robin Williams is like a teacher. And, you know, he like solves some like crazy Drake equation or something like that. And then they're like, oh wow, this mop dude can like do math. And I was like, maybe I should have been like that mop dude, you know, like I should have stayed in the square. Outside of, I guess it was OpenAI. Yeah. OpenAI, they had like a little sprawling causeway between buildings, and I could have like sat there like with a coffee, and like when people came out, I could have been like, do you work here? And then, you know, I probably would have gotten like arrested or something like that. There was a security guard who I spoke with a couple of different times, just trying to get like a feel for like, you know, how much I was allowed to be there loitering basically. But yeah, being in San Francisco, it felt like being a hermit crab, you know, like I would go into the city during the day, and that's like when a hermit crab like comes out of his shell, and I was living, so to speak, in the Marin Headlands, which is like halfway between Sausalito and San Francisco. And so I would stay. This is all interesting stuff, I think. And again, I think if you're interested in anything I'm talking about, I highly recommend listening to everything I've ever made, just because I think it makes more sense for me as a person if you're trying to understand why I'm doing any of the stuff that I'm doing. it makes sense to read the chapters before this, or in this case, listen, which should be even easier. But yeah, I would go into San Francisco during the day. I would just do something. I don't know. I'd go to Starbucks and do some needfuls. Met some nice people along the way. But yeah, it's just funny. It was just like, man, San Francisco, I mean, respectfully, I think it sucks. I think California sucks. Respectfully. I mean, I know people, shout out to Art. We'll get to Art in a second. Yeah, as a state, I don't know. I just didn't really feel, it certainly wasn't the sprawling, frontier that it used to be. It felt like the most like stodgy, like uptight, like high-strung place I've ever spent a considerable amount of time in the United States. And I have been to 46 of the 48, I've been to, 46 of the 48 contiguous United States. And California just felt like it had its head up its own rear end, if you know what I'm saying. Not to say the people necessarily were like that by and large, but just culturally, I was just like, I don't know. Felt like I couldn't do anything there. Maybe it was just that the Zen was too expensive. It was like $11 for a canister, and I was like, what? And they had no flavors because they're trying to protect the children. I was like, what? I was like, who were we protecting and who were we punishing here? Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So, on a final note, thank you. I guess I already broke your anonymity, but I will say I have a friend named Art, and he sent me an email, and you can too, at bookofmoron@gmail.com. Again, that's bookofmoron@gmail.com. You can send me comments, you can send me compliments, you can send me grievances, you can send me money. I mean, I don't think you can send me money through Gmail, but if you think it's been too long since I found a $20 bill and you wanna balance your karmic scales, go ahead and send me $20. But in the meantime, barring that, I actually don't need new money, so don't worry about it. But yeah, Art sent me a great email, and of course I used my friend AI to itemize it so that I could do a proper and efficient response to that email. And so I will thusly find what I did with it earlier today, and I will do something smart just right now. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I already did that. So Art, and anyone else listening, I really do enjoy the Tao Te Ching. I think it's like one of the most foundational texts for me understanding reality from a philosophical and instructive lens. And in 2022, Art suggested that I perhaps read Verses of the Tao and then provide my own interpretation of what is being said. And I actually did do that. So that's a funny thing. In 2022, for the original Book of Moron, when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail last, I attempted to incorporate a reading from the Tao and then my interpretation of it as part of each episode once the idea kind of occurred to me as well, because I do think it's a good idea. But I will say I found that it was very difficult for me to remember to do that, and I also didn't have the energy every single night to talk about the Tao in a meaningful way. So I will say, in a very Taoist way, I think it's interesting that I can't do that again because I already failed at it the first time, and I think it's actually in keeping with the Tao, the fact that like reading from the Tao and giving an interpretation when I don't want to do it is un-Taoist. So again, I would recommend anyone who wants to know me better, I would say go through the archive. This specific feed that has this specific podcast on it, you can scroll back all the way to 2022 And you can find all of the clips that I made from 4 years ago. And then I also have YouTube content as well, where I'm hosting for free other podcasts from my past. Man, why don't they make these boxes of wine bigger? You know what I'm saying? Oh, can you hear this? That is the saddest sound in the world. That is the sound of a black box that has run its course. Yeah. I think my favorite thing that Art said in his wonderful email was that instead of Doran Woyle, it should my trail name should be Warren, like WORON, spoken as like war on. And I really like that. When I was fantasizing about doing some kind of like extemporaneous speech at Trail Days talent show, I thought that ending it, I would like, present myself as Doran Woyle, but war on, like that's really cool because it's like it's moron with the W. It really is really, really good. War on. Yeah. And man, like war on. Yeah. I like it more and more as I say it and I think about it, because it's just like, yeah, everyone always asks why my trail name is Moron, and it's laborious for me to recount why it is what it is, or why it was what it is. But war on, that's great, Art. I really appreciate that. you know? So yeah, thank you, AI. Thank you, Art. Shout out to Art. Shout out to my parents. Shout out to you, dear listener. Shout out to Travis. Shout out to that dude from Food Lion. Man, these shout outs are crazy. Who else should I shout out? Shout out to my sister. She also had a pretty good suggestion, because she had listened to some episode where I was talking about, I just kept saying arbitrary, and my sister was like, you should name your show arbitrarily, like, arbitral, like like the trail, and arbitrary, you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? I think that you do. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. And speaking of putting things down, I'm going to go ahead and stop this, eat some food, get cozy. 51 minutes, 8:48. I am disgusted with myself in the best possible way. Love you. Bye.